Good morning. Today is Tuesday, March 2nd, 2021. And welcome to another podcast of one of my new podcasts about politics and movements and freedom and all sorts of shit. I usually have explicit content because I like to use profanity. It's one of the freedoms that I still have. That we all still have. Or do we? I don't even know. But in honor of Black History Month that was in February, which ended on March the 1st, I'm well aware of this. I'm so fucking behind. I wanted to do a 3-part series on the history and the movement and the effect and the impact that it has had on the United States and all over the world. Black Lives Matter. I'm just going to do history as long as I can and take little breaks and put forth my try to put it in perspective in my own layman's terms in my own brain. But I do this for therapy for myself. I am a white person, non-Hispanic. I'm hell of an Italian. I'm mentally disabled. I'm an addict. So, am I black? No. But could that be considered? We'll get into that later. What we're going to do is the history of it. The history of Black Lives Matter started, and this is, in terms of like documentation, this is from oh shit, where is it from? I'm going to X out of this shit. I'm sorry, guys. Shit. There we go. I am not a scholar. I start school in the fall, but am I a journalist? No. This is just a person's humble opinion. And I'm going to see in the third part of the series, I'm going to get an African American, because I have many friends of the African American descent, on my podcast. And I'm going to do a Q&A with them. So that you just won't get a quote-unquote white person's perspective on the movement. You'll get a quote-unquote black person's perspective on the movement. Do I want to do that? No, I don't. I mean, I think it's fun because everybody gets their own. Sometimes you have to hear from your old culture, from your own culture, and I understand that. But that's part of what. There's certain things that I like about it, certain things that I absolutely respect about it, that I think was needed. And there is some shit that pisses me off about it because of how people perceive it and how people, how people act upon it in different ways. There's positive change and there's negative change. Anyway, I will get into that, but this is about history. This is on blackpast.org. All about the movement from 2013 to present. Pretty much says, let's see. Since the 1960s, this is the biggest movement that African Americans have ever had. Hold on, I'm going to turn this up. Make sure it's turned up. Okay. So overall, it says the movement seeks to bring attention to police violence against African Americans, and in particular the use of deadly force against mostly unarmed civilians. So it's about police brutality and what they have had to go through. And I'm going to say in generalized terms, yes, we have all had to fucking go through that. Okay? But yes, there have been some many innocent blacks over the years who have lost their lives for no fucking reason. And okay, for example, I remember the day that this shit hit the fan. 17-year-old Trayvon Martin at the hands of neighborhood Captain George Zimmerman in 2012. That's when they started it. He was wrongly, the whole fucking thing was bullshit. And I'm talking about not on Trayvon's end, I'm talking about on the captain's end. And this is a fucking captain, mind you. I mean, those motherfuckers are in charge, dude. And a captain did this, and a captain signed off on this. It was some unbelievable shit. But after everything that I observed during that time, just like I said, this is just my opinion. I'm not a fucking scholar, nor am I a journalist, I'm just putting my motherfucking voice out there because I can. Because it's one of the last freedoms I have. Cussing and putting my shit out there. Will anybody fucking listen to it? I don't give a fuck. But I got to get it out. Because at least I'll know that I at least got it out. Even if nobody listened. So anyway. Anyway, that's what really popped the cherry on that shit. So, okay. Oh, okay. Sorry, I got lost. Here we go. There we go. I mean, I've been reading about just the history of it because I love history. It was actually organized by a domestic worker rights organizer, one in Oakland, California, and 3 community organizers. And an anti-police violence organizer in LA. That's who founded it. They had an organization called Black Organizing for Leadership and Dignity, BOLD. And when shit hit the fan, that's when, okay, the captain got put on trial. And, I mean, y'all know this, but just for a refresher, he got acquitted. Like, he didn't get sentenced to any jail time. He didn't do any fucking community service. He didn't do time for the murder that he committed. And that 17-year-old little boy is dead. And he's just, I haven't kept up on the times, but during that time, he was walking free. He was a motherfucking free man. So they got pissed. You guys got pissed and you did something about it. Says, the organizers made a Facebook post called A Love Note to Black People, calling on them to get active, get organized, and fight back. And I believe in that. I think that is a great thing. You should fight back against police brutality. Especially if that's your culture, and you guys are getting fucking murdered day and night and fucking every other just too many fucking just too many times, too many instances, then I would do the same thing. So that's when Black Lives Matter was born. Let's see. I'm just trying to categorize all this because it's a lot of information. Unlike most other groups who organize courthouse demonstrations, Black Lives Matter immediately recognized the value of social media in developing a political agenda and mobilizing for action beyond petitioning for justice through mediums like change.org. Using Facebook, Twitter, and Tumblr, they created a movement unlike most Black freedom campaigns that preceded them. While Black Lives Matter drew inspiration from the civil rights Black Power movement in the 1960s, the 1980s feminist womanist movement in the 80s, the 1980s anti-apartheid Pan-African movement. Look that up. That's a pretty badass movement. And the late 1980s political hip-hop movement. And 2000s LGBT movement. Sorry. I love that movement. It was one of my favorites. I was a lesbian for a little while, then I went back to bi, then I love all people. But, and unless the circumstances are extreme or unless they've done horrible things. Okay, so they, BLM used a lot of social media. I remember getting, honestly, like, not afraid, but I was like, oh, fuck. Here it comes. The shit's going to hit the damn fan. And the shit hit the fan. A lot of people were pissed. And this is a controversial subject because it just is. I mean, some people agree with this wholeheartedly. Some people don't. Some people don't give a fuck. But it's part of our history now, and that's why I wanted to stay informed on it and give my honest opinion and all sorts of shit. Okay. It says, they used newly developed social media to reach thousands of like-minded people across the nation, quickly to create a Black social justice movement that rejected the charismatic, male-centered, top-down movement structure that has been the model for most previous efforts. They engaged in collective planning for their campaigns, which is good. You have to plan. You have to be organized. And this is what I like about this movement. But I have a question for those who are. What do you think? I went to their actual website, like their website, their mission statement and shit. It says that after a while, it started including women, the working poor, the disabled, undocumented immigrants, atheists and agnostics, and those who identify as queer and transgender. These marginalized Black people played visible and central roles in the formation of BLM and in their ongoing community organizing and protests. Now, what is that? What is that? On the website, it says folks, quote unquote. Now, does that mean they have to be Black? Do they have to be disabled Black people? Do they have to be transgender Blacks? Queer Blacks? Atheist Blacks? Or could it be a white person? A Hispanic person? Could it be a Mexican? Could it be, that's all I want to know. Like, they don't really clarify on that on the website, nor have they ever clarified on it. But from what I have seen from its conception until now, they're focusing on just black people. So I'm not going to include myself, which really fucking hurts. Because all those other types of people that have been mentioned in all races have undergone serious emotional pain and torment and all sorts of shit. You know, same as you. So anyway, that's just a question that I have. It's just a question. Okay, continuing on. 2014, and Michael Brown dies. He was 18. So Trayvon was 17. Michael Brown was 18. It's just they're just too fucking young. They hadn't even begun their lives. Murdered at the hand of police officer Darren Wilson. More than 500 Black Lives Matter members from Baltimore, Berkeley, and LA, Boston, Massachusetts, all sorts of, descended upon Ferguson, Missouri. And that's good. You guys stood together, and that's a really good thing, I think. He was totally unarmed. And his body was allowed to lie in the street for 4 hours before it was eventually taken to the city morgue, an event that was well documented by bystanders with cell phones and distributed within minutes around the world via Twitter and Facebook. That's horrid. Okay, that's fucking horrible. You know, I watched a documentary on Abraham Lincoln's body. At least his body was covered up. I mean, his body was just sitting in the middle of the street. They should have scooped him up like any other person. I think that's bullshit. I totally agree with you on that. And to all these other bystanders, this shit's been happening too many fucking times. You guys are watching horrific events with your fucking cell phones and you don't do a goddamn thing about it. If you're scared, document it and fucking walk away. There's a bunch of pussies that consider it quote unquote entertainment. Don't fucking tape your phone while somebody fucking is dead in the street. Don't fucking record it on your motherfucking iPhone or your Android or what the fuck ever when somebody is getting brutally fucking beaten, or when a house is on fire, or when somebody's slapping the shit out of somebody, like to the point where it's not funny anymore. That shit ain't funny. Like, if I ever have a voice, ever, cut it the fuck out. I'm over that shit. Okay, moving on. This instant exposure generated months of sometimes peaceful and sometimes violent protests, which involved Ferguson residents at first, but eventually drew tens of thousands of people. That was brutal. BLM at Ferguson, that was brutal as fuck. They really destroyed some shit. Y'all destroyed it. You destroyed hella shit. I mean, you destroyed your own neighborhoods, which is what I can't make hell or high water of destroying your own fucking neighborhood. Your own barbershop and shit. Like, I don't care what race you are. That does not make any sense to me. You know, like I said, there's negative change and there's positive change. There's different ways to do shit. That's all I'm trying to say. Chanted hands up, don't shoot. I'm just reading, guys. Thanks for listening to this. Dozens of other African American men and women whose deaths occurred away from the view of cell phone cameras. The movement's success also resulted from their inculcation of the feminist political mantra, personal is political. I agree with that. That concept meant that each member's personal experience is informed and molded by the various campaigns against a systemic oppression that are inescapably political and collectively connected to the well-being of others. This framework has been used to transform Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s message, "None of us are free until all of us are free," from a concept centered primarily on the freedom dreams of black heterosexual men to a campaign that equally addresses the freedom struggles of all people, but is explicitly centered on black liberation. I mean, it is a success. By August 2015, BLM had at least 23 chapters in the United States, Canada, and Ghana, with black people in London, Paris, and Africa and Latin America. Growing international interest in the BLM movement stemmed from the April 18, 2015, police custody death of Freddie Gray of Baltimore, Maryland. Oh, the Baltimore Rebellion, I remember that. Ignited a global movement where black cyber activists in Europe, Africa, the Caribbean, and Latin America drew inspiration from and modeled their efforts on both the BLM and the 2010 to 2012 Arab Spring campaigns, where North African and Middle Eastern women and young cyber activists toppled long-standing dictatorships in Tunisia, Egypt, Libya, and Yemen. I think that is an amazing thing. If you don't understand what I just said, Middle Eastern women should be the definition of motherfucking oppression. They can't eat, they can't fuck, they can't breathe without a motherfucking say-so from their husband. They have to wear certain shit. They can't ever speak out of turn or they're going to get murdered. I mean, I know we all have our struggles of all races. You know, we do. And all cultures. I mean, anyway, it was called the Black Spring Movement. More than 950 protest demonstrations. And their call for social justice has ranged from targeting well-known police-involved deaths, such as the Eric Garner strangulation in Staten Island. That's in New York. In 2014, and lesser-known cases involving the killing of homosexual and heterosexual black women and children, such as 12-year-old Tamir Rice on Cleveland on November 22nd, 2014. That's horrible. Who fucking does that? That's horrid, dude. That's just fucking fucked up. Partly as a result of BLM, the U.S. Department of Justice has investigated police misconduct in several cities. And that's good. Baltimore, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Ferguson, Newark, New Orleans, Portland, New York, North Charleston, to name a few. On December 18, 2014, the U.S. Congress enacted the Death and Custody Reporting Act, which now requires states receiving federal funds to document and report all deaths at the hands of police. I think that is an amazing thing that you guys have done. I didn't even know that. And that is a great thing. That occur in the process of arrest. April 4th, jumping ahead to Walter Scott, who was shot in the back while fleeing from Officer Michael Slager, a policeman from North Charleston, South Carolina. July 13th, 2015, Sandra Bland was taken into custody near Prairie View University after she was stopped by a Texas state trooper. She later died under mysterious circumstances in the Waller County Jail. Mysterious circumstances. God, I'd love to see that police report. The fucking police. On July 19, 2015, Samuel DuBose of Cincinnati, Ohio, was killed by Ray Tensing, a UC police officer, during a traffic stop. Besides the race of each victim, all these incidents shared the rapid dissemination of video at the time of their encounters with law enforcement officers, which led many viewers to question the tactics and, in some cases, the legality of police action. So that means they didn't have video, like the video is just slowly going away while they did this shit, because that's the only way their ass is going to get covered. I see it. I see you now. I'm not talking about BLM. I'm talking about, like, every police officer in the United States or in the world. You can't stereotype them all. You can't kill them all. Okay, I know, I've been watching Social Distance on Netflix, and I just recently watched an episode about, like, a racial injustice from a younger kid's perspective to an older man's perspective. Peaceful protests is what he was arguing. And yeah, look that up. That's a great episode. It really, it brought some understanding, for me, at least, about how, strongly they feel about it and how they can go about it. We all can go about it in peaceful ways. Peaceful protests are the shit, I think. But I'll tell you one thing. If you document the minute, well, there's so much I have to say about this. I'm just going to I'm going to see where I am here. I've got 16 minutes. Wow, I'm going to stop there with 2014 to 2015. That's less than under 2 years and all that shit happened. Damn. But yeah, I will stop there with, and continue on in the second part of the series. It might be a 5-part series, guys. But, yeah, and last remarks on the police is, do I trust them? Not all of them. Most of them? No. Most of them that I've encountered? No. A lot of these situations that BLM has gone through, they're horrific, and it is profiling is what it is. And profiling is fucking horrible. I've been profiled because of a place I left, because people I've been hanging around, because of this and that, because of all this stupid shit. The nasty police out there, the dirty police that committed, had a hand in committing all these crimes. I have no doubt in my mind that those police officers were racist as fuck. And, sorry, there's a dog right outside. My neighbor's dog came outside. Damn, that dog got big. But, that's no excuse. They brought their personal lives onto their work. Some people have racial bigotry for no fucking reason at all, because that's all they grew up on, or that's all they know. But they're not going to fucking change anything about it and think they're themselves. Oh no, they're just going to be racist as fuck. And this could be anybody. A white person against a black person against a Hispanic, old traditional people against gays, people against mentally disabled, people that are mentally disabled because they don't want to pay into Social Security. I could go on and on and on about this shit, dude. I have fucking shit to say. And I'm going to say it until my podcast gets fucking banned. And if it doesn't, fuck yeah, dude. I got a great local following. And that's all I give a fuck about. So anyway, moving on to that. If there's, my encounters with the police, most of the time I was guilty by association, to be honest. And they pulled me down and pushed on my fucking back and treated me like fucking dirt, just like they have you guys at times. And I'm sorry for that. Or anyone. Just because they felt like they could. Because dirty police officers, they love that power. They want that fucking power. Most of them that I've read on in my history, are, they were bullied. And, sometimes it is not an accident why people choose the occupations that they do. Some people choose those occupations to fucking get back at the world that so horribly fucking pushed them aside and treated them like shit, so they're going to treat other people like fucking shit. Okay, you can't fight fire with fire, but you can, but there is no end. There's no end to physical fucking violence. And if you think that there is an end to it, text me. Send me a comment. Tell me where the end is. When one person fights back, then another fights back. Then one person fights back, then another fights back. I mean, I'm talking physical altercation. Where's it going to end? It's going to end with one of you dying. It's really sad. What this has come to. And Sylvia Plath, she committed suicide. She was a poet long time ago. In one of her poems, it was one of her books. She pretty much said that one day the government or whatever will turn us all against each other and will pretty much eat each other. And that's what they want. They want black people to hate white people. They want white people to hate blacks. They want Hispanics to hate Mexicans and Chinese. And, America is it used to be the melting pot. America was called the melting pot because it was full of fucking immigrants. My great-grandmother came on the boat. you know, to the United States to make better for herself and her family. Germans, Irish, it doesn't matter. It should not matter. This should not be happening. It's fucking horrible. You know, the racism in this country has gotten way fucking whoa. And I understand why BLM has done what it's done. And it's been successful. And I'll continue with that history on tomorrow, but just to sum shit up, you know, the way that I do, which takes 45 fucking minutes, I think certain things are wrong. How can a person of any descent tell me, just because I'm Italian or white to them, that I have never suffered, that I don't know oppression, that I've never felt, I've never been treated differently because of the way that I fucking look. Or because of the way that you are. You know, that's bullshit, because I felt all that shit. And it does not, the thing is, it doesn't fucking, it's not supposed to matter. It's not supposed to matter. It's not supposed to matter if you're white or black. A person is a fucking person, and we all breathe the fucking same. And yes, there have been horrible things that have happened, and deaths on all sides, and ridiculous shit that's happened that should have never happened to African Americans and to whites and to Hispanics and to people in the Middle Eastern and all over the fucking world, man. When are we going to stop stereotyping and look at the person for who they are? Not what they look like or what their sexual, you know. People judge people for their culture, for their sexuality. Just because I'm bi, that's not all that I am. I'm not just bi. Just because you're black, that's not all that you are. You're just black. That's just your culture. You have who you are as a person. You know? You know, to say that no one knows your struggle, that makes me fucking sick. And like I said, I will have an African American on my podcast at the end of when I get through with the history and everything, and I will have an African American on there, and maybe this country has always been fucked up, but you really want to fucking hurt somebody, don't go out and hurt an innocent black person or an innocent white person or what the fuck ever. This shit's going on for too long, and I'm sick of it. I'm so sick of it. I want to be equal. I wish that were possible. But there will always be racism. There will always be wars, because people cannot get past it. They cannot move on from their past. They cannot move on from the wounds. There was a time when a Democrat and a Republican could sit together and have a fucking beer at a bar. Not so long ago. maybe 15 years ago, and they could debate, but it wouldn't end in bloodshed. It would end in a possible handshake and a goodbye. Because they had an understanding that just because a person has different viewpoints or different background or different sexuality does not make them any better or any worse than anyone else. Whites are not a superior race. You know, the race that I was born with, I was born into it. You know? Don't kick my ass because I was fucking born into it. Just because they have done unspeakable, horrible things, does that mean I'm going to? Absolutely fucking not. Because people have different morals. What makes a person, how they communicate, what they love, what they don't like. What, you know, what's their religion? What's their favorite color? Shit like that. Get to know a motherfucker before you condemn him to death. And that's all I gotta say. I gotta get out of here and do a boob exam. I think I've got something wrong with my tits or whatever. But anyway, thank you so much for listening. This is part 1 of the BLM history and the BLM series in honor of Black History Month, which just ended yesterday. All right, love you guys. Stay safe. Love each other. Be good to each other. And please promote peace. Just be at peace. All right. Peace.